Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sonic Comic Chaos. I'm your host, SilverRacer1. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, Ian Waffles. Ian, say hi.
Hello.
We are back. Sonic Comic Chaos rides again. They tried to stop us. They tried to silence us. They tried to cancel us, Ian. You know, You know who they is. You know, you're talking about them all the time.
The eponymous A.
What?
They.
Yeah. Yeah, you know who they is. You know, you talk about them all the time when we're off mic. You know, that specific group of people. You know who I'm talking about. You should say it into the microphone.
Oh, yeah. The fucking Sonic fans. Accurate.
That's pretty accurate, yeah.
Anyway.
I tried to trap you, and you dodged that expertly. Anyway.
I picked up the bullet and ate it.
Yeah, Shadow, guys. We're here with the first Sonic Universe arc. Guys, we made it. Did you ever think we'd make it this far, Ian?
Yeah, I believe in you.
Well, well, I believe it. Now I look like an asshole. So it looks like I don't
I was going to say, no.
Well, yeah.
That was the bit, Ian, and you ruined it with sincerity, as you always do. But yes,
that's true.
No, heck yeah. I mean, I told you this before we recorded, that I think, like, pre-Universe Flynn is, like, great. But I think Universe is where pre-boot Flynn becomes, like perfect. Like, for me. Like, it becomes everything that I love about it, because with before, obviously it's just one book, so Flynn has to split his attention. Obviously he's got to keep Sonic consistently in as much as possible, even with Enerjack and stuff, and so therefore, you know, all the other characters, like the Chaotix, kind of got sidelined a little bit with that arc. Or like Shadow can just kind of appear randomly, but he's not going to be around for too much. And then Antoine really hasn't done anything in a while, since, you know, he got married with Bunny, and Bunny hasn't done a lot. And so there's just so many characters he has to juggle, and he's doing a great job, because I love this world and how he's bringing all these things to life and all these different storylines. But with Universe being to where it's a thing where we can actually focus on one character, 4 issues, they get a complete story, and we move on, it just basically makes everything better, because now every character feels like the main character. Every character has a villain they get to fight. Every character gets a story. It's freaking great, and I love it. So
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. But before we hop into that, we, of course, must return to our world-famous segment, Ian and Ace read your comments. From Green Soda 123 on that last 900th issue thing that I put out, which I honestly, that one's getting traction real quick. Is the secret just to, like, have desaturated images with words over them? Is that
with insults? Lame. I mean, it caught my eye, because, like, I think what it is that if you're scrolling by it, you have to, like, you notice it, and it's like, oh, what does it say? Lame. And so you kind of, like, get that hit of, like, what? And then you click it.
And also, it's just, furthermore, I will never be able to meet Ian Flynn, because, like, I'll be like, oh, Mr. Flynn, like, I'm a huge fan of your work, and he'll be like, oh, are you? And he'll just have, like, now a scroll of, like, oh, really? Even though IDW Sonic is painfully mediocre, and even though fuck, I don't know, any other insulting titles I've done.
He just stares at you and he goes, handle. You go, what, sir? What's your Twitter handle? It's the SilverAce01, sir. Click, 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 click. He looks into it. He goes, Sailor Moon. Interesting. All right, here's your autograph.
Yeah. But I will say, the problem is, like, I'm nicer in the episodes than you are, but absolutely. I'm the one who writes the titles. So it's like, well... Anyway, Green Soda 123. All they had to do was have Knuckles say it's crunch time. You just had to do that, guys. Which, yeah, that would have been fun.
That is true. I don't think anyone, unless Sega would have been like, he would never say that. It's like, well, then I guess we're just fucked.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I said in the episode, I think doing something would have been better than doing nothing. You know, controversial opinion, I'm sure, but and then from JES11, wait. Hold on. JE-S1001. Nailed it. All right. So, okay, one at 40.808. I don't remember. Oh, okay. As far as I remember, both in the games and IDW, they never mentioned how Station Square is doing after Perfect Chaos destroyed it. Have they really? That feels like something Flynn would do. With, like...
Yeah, I don't think Station Square has ever been mentioned, really.
That's interesting. So it's now my headcanon that the abandoned city that Eggman and his Voltron/Megazord looking mech are in are the ruins of Station Square after Chaos flooded the place. I know it's kind of hard to believe, at the remaining population wouldn't be able to repair the place, and Amy would used to live there, but doesn't in the future games. Would you agree with that? Love to hear your thoughts. I mean, here's the thing. from what I understand, when something like when a place like floods, the infrastructure is like pretty fucked. Like obviously in the real world, like some city flooded up like a while. I mean, cities do that all the time. Climate change, it's great. But there's like a famous example where like just a bunch of buildings had to be torn down because like the first floors were flooded of these buildings. It's like, well, none of these are structurally sound anymore. So I guess the idea of them just being like, fuck it. Like, especially if Eggman like moved in relatively quickly, I could see it being like, yeah, okay, it's just his now. Fuck it, whatever. It was gonna take a lot of money and resources to rebuild anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a fun headcanon. I mean, I'm sure if you were to ask Flynn, they would probably just say like, yeah, like, you know, the restoration cleaned it up, blah, 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 right? Or, you know, like the citizens were able to put it back together relatively quickly because it's a cartoon world. But it's a neat idea.
Yeah, and then they also say at 5404, which is where I made my Ben 10 reference. You watched Ben 10. How much of it did you see? Did you only see the first show, or did you keep up with all 4 shows? Also, did you have any of the Omnitrix watch toys growing up? I know I wanted one as a fellow Ben 10 fan myself. What's your favorite Ben 10 alien? Well, Ian, you heard the questions.
Yeah, so I watched Ben 10, the original, as a kid, and I loved it. It was like my whole personality next to Avatar: The Last Airbender. Had like a big poster on my wall that had all the original 10 aliens, every episode I watched. I did have a Ben 10 watch, like I had the Omnitrix, and I brought it to school, and I would pretend to be the aliens and embarrass my classmates. And I didn't care. I would be in gym, and I would like grab it next to my shoe, and I'd be like, all right, I don't have to do the workouts anymore. I'm accelerate, and I flew around. It was awesome. And it made all these cool sounds, and I wore it for like a really long time, where it was my actual watch that I just had on me because it just looked so sick. Yeah, the original Ben 10 is pretty cool. Anytime I've gone back to it, like with my siblings or whatever, it's not as like moment to moment fun as I used to be, but I just think the aesthetic's really good. The animation's really great for the transformations, and yeah, just in general, like it just has a charm to it from those early 2000 shows. And I would still probably recommend just checking out an episode or two. I quite enjoyed it. Alien Force didn't give a crap about. I thought it was really boring. Ultimate Alien, I didn't stick around too long. Didn't watch any Omniverse. And my favorite alien was Cannon Bolt, because Cannon Bolt is the best one. He is a ball, and he is cool. And he's also bulletproof. There you go. That's my thoughts.
Well, I was following you until you discredited yourself in the last 15 seconds, but it's fine. I was obsessed with it as a kid. I didn't start watching until Alien Force was on. I guess probably because I'm a couple years younger than you, Ian. Because I was like 7 or so when it came on. And I loved it. Hold on. What were the actual questions? Hold on. Yes, I owned a couple different Omnitrix toys. The first one I owned was the Alien Force one, which is probably the best one they did in terms of just like show accuracy. Like when they did that live action movie, it was pretty close to just the toy. And then I had like an Ultimatrix. I had a couple others. Yeah, the Alien Force Ultimate Aliens, those were my favorites as a kid. Obviously, I loved all of it. I fell off at Omniverse. I watched like the first couple seasons, but like I was like just growing, not necessarily growing out of it, but like because like the tone shifted so massively, I was very much in the age of like, well, this is not my fucking Ben 10.
The art style was also a lot more cutesy around that time, and so like I know a lot of shows like that is like, oh wow, they downgraded it from my gritty Alien Force. I don't watch baby shows.
Exactly, that was exactly it. And then what's your favorite alien? Accelerate, specifically in the classic show. Because whenever he shows up in like the other iterations, he's horrible. Like I think the only other place he shows up is Omniverse. But like in the original show, like he has a cool voice and he has a cool mask. And then in Omniverse, when he shows up, for some reason they just get Yuri Lowenthal to voice him too, so it's really distracting. And he barely wears the mask. Like it's just so classic series Accelerate, dope as fuck. If I had to pick another one, Ultimate Echo, also dope as fuck. We spent really long in that question. Oh no, I have more.
I like Ben 10. I need to go back to it sometime because I just really enjoyed the original series. I mean, to give you an idea, right? I have as soon as you walk into my room, I have my little TV or whatever, and then just sitting there greeting everyone who walks in the room is my original Wild Mutt toy because it just looks awesome, and I still think it looks awesome, even though I don't like watch the shows anymore or whatever. I just think those original like Ben 10 like OG series designs just look sick, and the transformations especially so. So yeah, Ben 10 just has great iconography, and would recommend the original at the very least. I haven't rewatched a lot of the other stuff. So
I mean, here's the thing. It was a toy commercial that did its job well. Like you,
Absolutely.
but yeah, and then from this is so small. From King J9664. Guess I'll have to be the one with the controversial opinion here. I honestly don't think IDW Sonic is that bad. I think people are just not used to its more slower pace because we're all still kind of on Archie comics that had a lot more stuff going on. But I'll just say this: everyone's got their opinions, which obviously is fair. And like, yeah, that's fair. I don't know if I would say IDW Sonic is necessarily slower. I just think I don't care. like I'll watch a slower paced show or like a slow burn show or a show where quote unquote nothing is happening if the characters are charming and I like what they're doing. And that isn't the problem is that I don't, for me at least, that isn't the case with IDW. Ian, thoughts?
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah, I mean, we've made our points in terms of what we dislike about IDW very clear. I guess I would just ask that person if they're listening. Because you kind of mentioned like, oh, maybe the pace being different is kind of what's throwing people off. But what specifically do you like about that kind of slower pace? Like, what keeps you engaged, and what do you find enjoyable? If you don't like have a articulate answer, that's not that's fine. It's not your job. But if you do have an answer, let me know. So
we want an essay on our desks by Monday.
By Monday. And if not, you're not allowed to like IDW anymore.
But no, I'm happy that you found the podcast. I hope you're still listening, and I'm glad that you're an IDW fan and you did not rage quit because we're very mean to it. So that's good.
Absolutely.
Then from Black Century King 106, that rainbow place may be a reference to one of the Sonic R stages, the final one you unlock. Okay, but like, why wouldn't you just say that though? Again, this is the issue to go like, hey, that thing, it's that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, might just be a new location, in which case, pretty cool.
Yeah. Then from Neo Stickle, didn't think that they would remember the "It's a Bird" bit. Hopefully, if that becomes a recurring gag that nobody who didn't watch the previous videos gets.
We'll see. My memory is terrible. So
yeah. And then from that Sony, can't believe Waffles died for our sins. And when I say our, I mean IDW's. Dude, your story about how you went for Halloween as Jesus is maybe one of the funniest things I've ever heard.
I didn't even know what they were talking about, so I couldn't. I was like, "What? Oh, okay."
I was editing it and I had forgotten about it, and I was like, "Well, yeah, that's a thing." Like,
heck yeah.
But
represent.
Yeah, I guess.
Gotta represent Pope Leo.
And then from Disconnection 6715, they timestamped my when I was ranting about the diamond cutters.
It's great. I went back to listen to that. You were hysterical there. Your rage.
They said one of the most reasonable crash outs, which yeah. And then finally, I got another one from Green Soda. You got a second comment. Be grateful. When are you guys going to talk about the Fang the Hunter miniseries? Because I want to know what you all think of the new Topaz lore. I don't know, sometime.
Yeah, we'll get to it. I mean, we're going to get to all of IDW, so.
Yeah. And is that a threat or a promise, Ian?
It's a bird. I don't know.
It's a bird. Okay. Well, I think it's time we hippity hop in to Sonic X number 40. What?
Why?
Because this is where the arc technically starts.
Yes, you're right. So
so a little bit of context, audience. From what I understand this to be, is they were like, Archie was like, we aren't publishing. First of all, I think this cartoon ended like 2 years ago or whenever. When did this come out? When did Shadow Saga start? This must have been like 2009, right?
Yeah, I think it's around 2009.
Yeah, because we did the Black Knight story a couple episodes ago. So yeah, it would be at least 2009. And I think Sonic X ended in 2007. So quite frankly, the fact that this comic was still going at all is something. Which I guess you could say about the whole thing because it started as a Saturday AM spinoff. I digress. But from what I guess Archie was like, look, this cartoon ended like 2 years ago, and also we're not publishing 3 Sonic comics. So this is ending at issue 40. And so this is kind of like a baton pass issue from Sonic X being the second Sonic title to Sonic Universe being the second Sonic title. And the way in which they choose to do that is that Shadow from the Prime universe, from the Archie Sonic universe, hippity hops over into the Sonic X universe and gets into some shenanigans.
Yes.
So
it comes directly off of the Hedgehog Havoc story.
Yes, where because Shadow, if you remember in Hedgehog Havoc, Shadow was trying to get into his special zone, and he was like, and he ended up in Moebius, and then he was like, okay, well, I need to take Metal Sonic and get him out of here, so at least there's a few less things trying to kill Sonic, and so he took Metal Sonic, they warped away, but where did they warp to? Well, we're about to find out. It's the Sonic X universe, but so let's hop into Sonic X number 40, the way past excellent comic. So we start with Sonic. He's having a tea party with Cream and her mother. When who should appear but Shadow and Metal Sonic? And I will say the art in this comic is interesting.
It's a little jank.
It's a little jank. It's not bad, but it's very much like, I don't know what I would call it. It's I'd say it's like kind of semi off model.
It looks like something you would get when you buy like, here's Avatar Volume 4 DVD. Here's a little comic we gave you just to have something to read in the car on the way back. Like it's just it kind of feels like that, where it's just like a little side thing, Which
again, to be fair, this was they are advertising a cartoon that ended 2 years prior, so that makes sense.
Well, and most of Sonic X in the back half looks quite good because they get Yardley to do it. So,
oh, interesting.
Yeah, so this is kind of this is a scenario where for some reason they didn't get their A team for it. So
I mean
Yardley was kind of probably working on Universe. So
yeah, Yardley was probably drawing Sonic Universe number 1, and so he was like, get someone else. But Spaz does do the cover, and it's a nice looking cover. But so. Should we explain Sonic X for people who maybe don't? Because like it is old. People know what Sonic X is, right?
I mean, all you gotta know is just Sonic X. Basically, the premise is just that Sonic gets transported to more or less our world, and he's just kind of hanging out with this little boy named Chris, and they just kind of do episodic adventures, at least for season 1 and 2. That's kind of more or less what the comic builds off. It doesn't really go into like the Meta X season 3 stuff, which has a completely different story. But Sonic X was just basically like a slice of life Sonic show for the most part.
Yeah, it was an anime, came out in the early 2000s. I guess they didn't touch season 3 because they knew they couldn't live up to Kino. But I digress. So actually, Ian, have you seen season 3 of Sonic X? I know you were watching it at one point.
I've not, but I'm excited to get to it eventually.
It's so good, dude. But anyway, so right now and also they did adaptations of Sonic Adventure 1 and Sonic Adventure 2, so these versions of the characters do know of Shadow, but they believe him to be dead, which we actually see a fun little thing for that at the end of this issue. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Don't get ahead of yourself, Ian. What are you doing?
All right.
So they show up, and then Metal Sonic just kind of like flies away because he does the same thing I think he did last time, where he's like, "Oh, I'm in a new zone. I gotta find Robotnik." Yeah. And what I love is, Sonic's like, so when they appear, they like just kind of flash in on top of the table they were having the tea party on, and Sonic goes, "Hey, Shadow, could you get off the table?" And he just goes, "Oh, sorry." Like, I love Archie Shadow so much. He's just like, "Oh shit, man, my bad."
He's just a cool guy.
He's just a cool guy. And so Sonic and him are running together, and something that I thought was interesting is that I guess Sonic and his friends aren't from this planet, aren't like from this dimension either. So when Shadow's like, "I'm from another dimension," he's like, "Oh yeah, shit, me too." But I guess like I'm from another dimension, which is fun. And he's like, "Yeah, but things are a little different here. Like you're dead." And it's like Sonic. I'm gonna be honest. Sonic's kind of just like a prick in this issue.
He's just hanging out.
But he's just like, "Hey, you want to just like traumatize some people? I think that'd be pretty funny." Like, and Shadow's like, "I just
fair, it was."
But so So they go and they meet the Chaotix, and they're like, "Hey, they're rebuilding their detective agency because apparently Vector got real big in a previous issue, or maybe in the show. I don't know. And so Shadow's like, they're detectives? They're definitely not detectives where I'm from. And he's like, well, game canon, shut up. And I guess I assume what this is meant to be is we're just kind of saying goodbye to this comic by way of like giving Shadow a little tour. Like we're going and seeing the Chaotix, and we're going and seeing Chris, and we're going to Dr. Eggman's base and seeing all his little robot flunkies. So that's fun. Speaking of which, again, we go to Station Square Elementary. We're okay. So first of all, again, Sonic, warn a guy. You could at least be like, hey, Shadow, he thinks you're dead, and he had kind of a strong reaction to your death, so he's probably got because Sonic, based on what you know from when you met your Shadow, did you think do you think he was going to be like in a position to handle this? Like, I guess what I'm saying is Sonic's very lucky that this is the Shadow he got. He's very lucky he didn't get Sonic. What the fuck is the thing I'm looking? He's lucky he didn't get IDW Shadow. is what I'm saying.
Chris is like, Shadow, I thought you were dead. Oh yeah, everyone dies, including you one day. Get out of my way.
Just pushes him down.
I mean, the fact that the Shadow's been chilling out and just being nice, I assume Sonic's like, all right, this is probably fine.
I'm just saying, warn him.
Yeah. He could have warned him.
But also, okay. I'm not sure if I'm racist or if Sonic's racist, but the fact that he goes to the one black kid and goes, hey man, you want to go shoot some hoops later, is questionable.
I mean, I assume he just shoots hoops in the show.
I guess. I don't know. But regardless, so yeah, Chris goes, he hugs Shadow, he cries. Shadow makes some hilarious expressions. Like when Chris is just like holding him like a kitten, Shadow gives he's like, help me. Like, what are you doing? And basically Shadow's like, look, I gotta go. It's actually a sweet moment because he doesn't say like, I'm not that Shadow. And so as far as Chris is concerned, he's just like, Shadow came back, he's not dead, but like he's gotta go do some other shit.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't live with Sonic.
Which is funny because like if you consider this to be canon, when spoiler alert, Ian, for season 3, when Shadow comes back, it'd be funny if Chris is like, why? Wait, this is weird. Why are you? Don't you remember when you showed up at my school and we hugged? It was
gets karate chopped.
But yeah, anyway, so then we cut to Eggman's base. Metal Sonic shows up, and he's like, "Hey, Senpai, notice me." And Robotnik's like, "Oh shit, that's cool, man. There's a robot Sonic. We didn't have one of those in our show." And so then Sonic takes Shadow to see what's his name from the first episode with the race car. And then we cut to a plot I assume they were building up, and then they were like, hey, show's canceled, guys. And so they have to quickly finish it in this issue where there's like a bunch of government guys who are watching Sonic, and they're like, hey, we got to do something about Sonic. And then they see Shadow, and they're like, fuck, we can't handle Shadow. Okay, cancel the mission. Have you read the Sonic X comic? Is this a thing?
Yeah, there's like a group of jerks who like hate Sonic or whatever, and they try to do shenanigans. They make like a classic Sonic one time. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, so I guess this is just them being like, okay, well, last issue, never mind. Yeah, and so then they're walking through Eggman's base. Who is that? There's like, is that meant to be Metal Knuckles? There's like some stuff in a tube. It looks kind of like Knuckles.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe they just want to have like one last little fun visual reference.
I guess, but there was no again, unless it was in the comic, and I'm unaware of this. I don't remember there being a Metal Knuckles in Sonic X.
I think there is like a weird Metal Knuckles in the comic. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like silver. I think it's like red and green eyes or something like that. I could be wrong.
Oh, I guess it makes sense because he was in Sonic Advance, so that would make sense. Yeah, and then we see Big. They go to the beach, And Sonic's like, and Shadow's like, dude, this world is great. There's no like,
dude, Mobius fucking sucks, dude. What is this?
It's like I can just like walk around. The sky is blue. Like what? Eggman is stuck on like a little island. This is great. And Sonic's like, I mean, you could just ditch your like shitty world and come live here. And Shadow's like, no, I gotta go back home. He's like, all right.
This scene's pretty important because without it, you kind of like obviously we understand Shadow's character going forward with these next 4 issues, but this is where he kind of like explicitly states it of like him being like, I'm not allowed to rest until like my world is safe, basically, and kind of like being like, I'm, again, not in the sense of like, oh, my like kind of, oh, I'm stoic and superhero, but like kind of in the sense of like he's like, no, like my purpose is this, and this is what I believe. And so it's like, I do love that he is genuinely like, this is a really nice world, like he genuinely like cares about it and likes it, but he's like, no, I still have to do my job. I don't know, it just makes Shadow like feel real. And like the fact that when he talks to Chris and he has that little moment with him where he's kind of freaking out, but then he's like, well, no, I'll talk to this kid, try to say something to comfort him. Clearly something's wrong, and that's just because the Shadow's fucking nice guys.
Yeah. Which, again, like I've said before, everyone who doesn't like this Shadow is weak and cowards and will not survive the purge. But regardless, yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, it's a cool guy. But so, and this panel of him, where he's like clenches his fists, like, this is like a cool like static image of Shadow. I like it. But anyway, Eggman rolls up. He's like, oh, hey, I got a Metal Sonic. This is pretty dope. And he sees Shadow, and he's like, that's not good. He's not supposed to be there. Which we'll see that payoff in like 3 pages. So hold your horses. But so it's funny because he shows up with Metal Sonic, and he's just like, hey, check this shit out. And then immediately Metal Sonic and Shadow just like jump at each other and warp away. And Eggman's like, oh. Bye.
Yeah, awkward. Bye.
Yeah. And then it's fun because it's fitting in the theme of, because this is, again, the last time, I mean, I guess ever, because, again, this was coming out after the show it ended, that Sonic X, Eggman, and Sonic are kind of seeing each other. And so their last little thing is like, oh, Eggman, you go run away, and we'll, I'll fight you some other time. And he says, oh, we'll run into, he says, see it. He actually says, like, sayonara, which is fun. Shadow, we'll see each other again someday. Which, again, is true. And extra continuity thing I appreciate. And I never knew about this. Again, I had never read this issue until today. When Eggman goes back to his base, and he's like, what the fuck? Shadow got out? And he goes to the pod. And he's like, no, I got Shadow. He's cool. What is going on there?
And like, he really panics. He's like, whoa!
And then, we run and we just get a fun page of all the Sonic heroes, where they're like, and it's also fun that like this was because these 5 were like the team for Sonic X. It was Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, and Rouge. And I guess Cream, but she'll be there in a moment, and she was at the start of the issue. But yeah, that's fun. And also Rouge gets really butthurt about Shadow not saying hi to her, but her girlfriend is there, so it's okay.
So it's all good.
Yeah, Topaz is here. It's fun. I like her outfit. She's and then Chris is like, hey, so Shadow, like, was he like? He says like he's gone again, isn't he? As if he was like a ghost. Like, just the way he says it is interesting because it's like typically I feel like you say lines like that in stories where it is like a ghost, where a character gets like a last chance to see a character, but it's like, yeah, he's I mean he's good, dude. He's just somewhere. He's just in like another like room, more or less.
He's just like, Sonic, that was a really fucked up prank you just pulled. I know Shadow's dead.
I know Shadow's dead. Again, she's just like, hey, Sonic's like, hey, Shadow, you want to go traumatize some people and not visit Rouge? Like,
indeed.
Whatever. And then we just get the last page thing where it's like the end. I do wonder if anyone's come up with like a reading guide for this, where it's like, it like if this slots into like Sonic X canon, like if you can watch the show.
Oh, I don't know. Like, I'm sure someone's done it, but yeah, that's a fun idea.
Like between episodes like 13 and 14, you read issue 1, and then you like, yeah, I don't know. But anyway, well, that was that. That was fun. Again, I think that's just like it's just a cool sign of the times. That's like there was a Sonic X comic and it got 40 issues and ran 2 years after the show ended.
Well, and that like while you're buying that, it's like, oh, but now I can go read the main comic. What's going on there? What is an Iron Queen?
Yeah. Yep.
Why is that man in a straight jacket?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I guess that's also the thing. Like, it's just kind of cute, right? Because I imagine Sonic X was a lot of kids' like first introduction to these characters, and it's like, like they got a comic series that even persists on after the show ends. Of like, oh yeah, no, these are these iterations of these characters, and like all that time and attention that was spent building them up, like, is still being paid off here. Yeah, I mean, it's not now because it's over, but
yeah,
but
it was fun. It's fun that Archie gets to kind of immortalize it into its multiverse, considering it would go on for way longer. So
yeah. So let's hop into Sonic Universe #1. Well, before we even do, fun cover, a bit cluttered, like you just got some characters kind of floating in space. It's also interesting that, like, based on this cover, you wouldn't think Shadow was the main character. He looks like the villain here.
Yeah.
And Sonic is not in this issue, but also it is called Sonic Universe, so it makes sense for him to be on the cover.
And we gotta instantly market it. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, then.
No, I think it's one of the. I definitely think it's one of the worst ones because it just feels. Yeah, it's very cluttered.
Though, this image will become pretty synonymous with Archie Sonic. Like this, like rendering of Sonic. I think it's still the image on like his wiki page if you go to the Archie Sonic wiki.
Yeah, I think the problem is that Shadow looks good, but then everyone else besides like, actually no, perfect. Yeah, this is a perfect example. It looks like the actual cover was supposed to be Shadow and Metal Sonic, and then they went, well, let's put Sonic on as well. And they went, okay, I'll draw a little sticker of him, and actually like put Marine in there too, and Blaze. They just look like stickers that are slapped on, whereas like the actual Metal Sonic Shadow one looks like it was actually meant to be there. Honestly, I feel like that's probably what happened.
Yeah, I would love to see this cover without those other three. Yeah, because again, it's just like characters floating in space. But again, like all the characters are drawn well. It's just like anyway, it's fine. But so we cut into Sonic Universe Living Weapons. So Sonic, Shadow, and Metal Sonic, they appear in. Well, we don't actually know where they are yet. There's just some water. They're just in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
And Shadow, he pulls an IDW Sonic, and he's like, "Hey, Metal Sonic, stop it." And Metal Sonic's like, "No." He's like, he's like, "Well, Sonic can't swim, so Shadow probably can't swim either." And so he just kicks him in the water and leaves. By the way, that IDW Sonic thing is a joke, audience. Just to make, we'll talk about it later. Why it's different. Everyone shut up. Comments?
Yeah, we'll go into it.
I see you typing. I see you. I'm in your house.
Shit.
Also, again, continuing the hilarious Shadow faces when he comes up for air. I've never noticed this.
Yeah, he looks great.
He looks like a sock puppet.
Yeah, he's so expressive. I love him.
I'm not complaining. It's fun. It's funny. It captures that energy of like when someone catches you in a picture you weren't expecting. You look like a dumbass. It's just a fun thing that Shadow can swim. And also that like people would assume he couldn't because it's like, well, yeah, you're just Sonic, right? You probably can't swim. It's like, no, I'm not. I have cool shoes. But then who shows up but Marine and Blaze on whatever the fuck this ship is called? And they get him out of the water. I'm only just now noticing that Shadow, like, the poses he's in are so funny. Like this first one where he's like clearly just been pulled up. He's like resting on the banister, and he's kind of full. He just kind of looks like an empty mascot costume.
Yeah,
he's just sopping.
We'd have to stop on every page, but like Yardley is so Yardley draws all of Universe, like every issue of Universe besides one arc. And I really feel like this is where he just gets to just completely come into his own in terms of like really refining his style, but also like still keeping all that expressive, like really stretching the characters' designs and like what they're capable of doing. Because there's always just something happening in the background or something funny to look at, or like the characters are making some really like dynamic posing, or the panels are really good. So like obviously like what I thought you were going to mention was the part where he's just like, oh, and then he tosses he is explaining his backstory, and then he tosses like the rag on like Marine's face. She's like, oh, I'll get that for you. It's just like goofy stuff like that throughout the story where it's just like it's never boring to look at the pages. It's never just like, well, the characters are talking, so blah, they're standing and talking. It's like he's always trying to find something visually engaging to do. It's awesome.
It is. Shadow explains his deal. And he's like, I get a feeling like I have a funny feeling I'm not in Kansas. And Blaze is like, no, I don't understand that reference. It would be fun. You know what? The Sonic movies are so. I'm just going off on a tangent. It's fine. The Sonic movies are so obsessed with pop culture. They should do that, where Shadow is like making old person references.
Yeah,
that should be his thing.
Well, because Sonic, he likes pop culture or whatever. Those are the movies he grew up with. So.
Yeah. But so yeah, he's like, we're not in Mobius, and they're like, nah. And also another fun thing, Shadow, whenever he refers to Marine, he keeps calling her Mary. and what I love is, and I don't know if this is intentional or not, he says it in two different spellings throughout the issue, because he'll say it again later, because like here when he says it, it's spelled Marie, and later when he says it, it's Mary.
That's funny.
I mean, what it probably is here he's probably meant to be saying Marie, and later he's meant to be saying Mary, but
Mary.
But regardless, it's still funny.
Well, and also just like, I mean, him and Marine are like hilarious throughout the whole story, and it's like, man, this is what I love. Like, IDW is supposed to be the thing where it's like, oh, all the game characters can interact. And I was like, man, can we have like Shadow interacting with anybody? Like, because this is just so fun. We're never gonna get to see Shadow interact with like Marine ever in anything. Or just like him interacting with Blaze and having kind of like this instant like rapport with her and like being like, like kind of like comrades or whatever and like working together. Or like just being on like good terms, like they respect each other and you feel like that sense that they're both these powerful individuals. It's great.
It is, yeah. Well, and also, if they do interact in IDW, it's boring.
Yes.
like here, like, and also the funny thing is like Shadow, like, look, we talk all the time about how Archie Shadow is a soft boy, and he is, and it's great. But like, he's kind of still a dick here. He's like, oh yeah, Mary, take my towel, whatever. And like, he's not he's not being like, oh well, whatever. Like, I don't know. Like, he's still clearly got like a dynamic personality that like contrasts against the others. Like, I guess that's probably what people, if I were to try and steel man people who don't like IDW Shadow, Archie Shadow. It's like, oh, well, he's just another one of the heroes. Like, he's just like Sonic, but with like a different coat of paint on him. It's like, well, no, he's got like the way he interacts with Marine is completely different from how Sonic would interact with Marine. And that's cool.
Indeed.
But anyway, yeah, he's like, okay, well, let's go somewhere. And he's like, well, while we're waiting, Blaze, what's your backstory? And so she's like, yeah, I was in some really terrible backup stories. She literally says the line, my first meeting with Sonic did not go well. It's like, yeah, no, it was bad. I think that I actually, the Rush Adventure backup, I think, was at least drawn better. I don't remember. And then they're like, but they're basically like, yeah, Sonic Rush and Sonic Rush Adventure sure did happen. And then there's actually a fun bit at the end where Marine's like, and then I was totally awesome and saved the day and everyone loved me.
Yeah, it's got its own unique little art style. And
yeah, and the funny part is, if you've played Sonic Rush Adventure, the superior of the two Rush games, that's true. She does save the day at the end of those games. But yeah, anyway, so they pull in, and the Marine's like, hey, Blaze, I think the city's on fire. The whole city's on fire.
The whole city's on fire, yeah.
And then you just get to Metal Sonic. He's just fucking up these koalas.
These poor koala people.
Yeah.
They're like, we don't know what to do. He just says he wants to see a doctor. We tried to help.
Yeah, but so Shadow's like, okay, I'm gonna go try and talk to Metal Sonic, and Blaze is like, nah, fam, I'm gonna kill him. And she tries to, and then there's a fight. She sets him on fire. He flies around, punches her. Shadow goes up to him, Shadow just tries to pull the same trick he pulled on him before, to just like warp away with him, and he gets thrown for his efforts. And there's a great bit where Marine is like on Metal and she's trying to like punch him, and Metal and Shadow goes to throw a Chaos Spear, and Metal just like turns so that way she's in the way, and Shadow has to grab his wrist to like keep the spear from like firing. It's really cool.
He does that with Blaze too.
Does he?
Yeah, because she goes to do a fire punch, and then he turns his head around and then uses her to block.
Oh
basically.
yeah, she's got a little exclamation mark. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, it's just really. I mean, it's just really fun. Like, it's just a fun idea for a fight. Like, that's just actually a unique circumstance of like, oh, you have Marine. How are we going to use her in the fight? Well, she would probably jump in. Well, Metal's smart. So what does he do? Oh, he actually like uses that to his advantage, and then like uses his different attacks, and he's like just destroying them. It's great.
Yeah, and
It's
so
actually like a fun, memorable fight scene.
yeah, and so then we get basically Shadow. He goes to Metal Sonic. He's like, "Look, you and I are the same. Like, we're both living weapons. Like, and the doctor's just using you like he used me. But you can, fight against him, and you can like be your own person? Question mark. And he's like, and Metal Sonic like basically is like, no, like you were made to protect Mobius, and so that's the function you serve, and you live to serve out that function. I was made to serve Dr. Robotnik. Like, you and I are the same. It's just your function is different from mine. Like, you're not like, and you're not going to sway me out to your bullshit function.
Yeah, like he actually like, I mean, that's why I know this was going around Twitter at the time we're making this video of like someone posting like him asking about Metal, and it's like, was he stupid? I know, obviously it's rage bait, blah 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 blah. But I mean, that is what is so cool is that no, like this Metal Sonic, when he is given this information, he legitimately gives a response. Like he processes the information, and he has a conclusion, an answer, and then Shadow goes, well, that fucking sucks, and then he kills him. So
He does kill him.
And it's great. It is really cool, and I like this is kind of setting up sort of the theme of Shadow's thing of like his kind of his like, whether with disregard to himself and just kind of everything else and how much pressure he puts on himself. It's like Metal is framing Shadow's duty of like protecting Mobius as robotic as he is, and then the story will kind of question that because Shadow believes he needs to kind of be that robotic, perfect creation. So just to a positive end. So it'll get explored later, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, they kill Metal Sonic. Although what's funny is Shadow's like mad about it. So Blaze sets him on fire. Shadow spin dashes him into the air, and then Marine blows him up with a cannon. And Shadow's like, you fucking idiot. How was I was going to use him to get home. It's like, okay, what did you think was going to happen? Like,
well, I think it's just an extension of how, he goes, now Blaze. So obviously, like, to him, he's like, yeah, Blaze is going to help me take this thing down. And then what does Marine do? Like always, she gets in the way.
It's also funny because like we cut to later, and he's just putting out the fire with a bucket. Like,
well, and again, this is like a really like, obviously like everyone knows the scene for the meme face and stuff. But it should not be like undersold just how nice this is that Shadow is sticking around to put out fires. Like, he's just hanging out, and he's like doing that because he's like is a helpful guy. He's a nice guy. So I really like the idea that like, because you would never see Shadow do this in anything. So just the idea of like, oh yeah, the battle's over, and what's Shadow doing? He's putting out fires. Like, he's getting buckets and putting out fires. He's doing like an actual service. That's fucking great.
I always thought he was putting out Metal Sonic. He was I'm only just now realizing he's putting out like the buildings.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, and then we get the meme face where he's like, okay, well, you said you made a boat for Sonic and Tails to get home. Could you make me one as well? And she's like, oh no. And then he does the meme face, and she like just slowly walks away. And then Blaze is like, well, I owe Sonic, so I guess I'll give one of his friends a Chaos Emerald. And he's like, what friend? I mean, I guess I'm his friend. Which is, again, just nice, because like this Shadow feels like socially awkward. He's like, oh, I mean, am I friends? I guess we're friends. I don't know. Whereas like the IW Shadow would be like, I'm not friends with that fucking idiot. Like, I don't know.
I have no friends, especially not Rouge and Omega.
Of course not. No. But yeah, and so then we cut back to Gun HQ, which I'm curious, how long for them has Shadow been gone? It must have been like at least a day, right? Because we'll see here in a moment, they have another mission for him. It's like, did you know he was going to be back in time to do that other mission? Like, regardless, we cut to Gun HQ.
Everything that we read happens concurrently. So considering the time it takes us to read it, obviously there's a few time skips, but like for the most part, it's probably just like 20 minutes later, they walked down the road and they went to talk to Vector. 30 minutes later, they went and talked to Chris. I don't know, maybe an hour passed. They hung out on the beach, fought Metal Sonic. And then from this issue to the end, that's all one recurring story. So maybe that took about maybe 2 hours. So then he's back. So he's probably been gone for like 5 or 6 hours.
That's fair. But yeah, so we see
They're just like, where is he?
we get to HQ where we see Hope and Abraham, who has recently joined the game cast again, which is fun. Well, I guess again, and also for the first time as Abraham Tower, so that's cool. But regardless, yeah. So he gets the Chaos Emerald, and he's like, "Yeah, we're back. I'm back, but Hope, your machine needs some fine tuning." And then Tower's like, "Well, we got another mission for you. I know you just like were ping ponged around the multiverse, but we got a new mission for you tonight." As I wrote in my notes, like, man, Gunn needs a union. Like, wait, really? Tonight? Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, first issue. It was fun. I liked it.
Yeah, no, I quite like it. Just all the expressiveness, all the fun, like banter and stuff. And again, it very subtly foreshadows what kind of Shadow's whole entire character is his robotic kind of slave to the mission, kind of mentality. But how like that's still filtered to the fact that he wants to be kind. He genuinely wants to like help these people because he feels like he was exactly the same. He was used, and he feels like everyone has a purpose that they can, a purpose that they can have. And he's like, well, why don't you take this good purpose? And so that's going to be a consistent thing for him. But then he fails to do that. But then through the kindness of, other people, he's able to get back home. So just a really, really nice story and a really strong start, just in terms of fan service for the games and also just for the Archie world. It's just kind of a fun start.
It foreshadows it, Ian?
What? Oh, yes.
That was the most genuine what I've ever heard in my life.
I was genuinely confused. I was like, Ace isn't stupid. Like, what did what did he say?
That was great. Anyway, also, while we're here, we never talked about while we were doing Reboot, but I guess now is a good time to say the Sonic Universe logo is great. Like, with the really stars in the middle and like the
it's very simple, but it's really effective.
Yeah. But anyway, cut to issue 2. Time and again. Now this issue is interesting because, as you might recall, audience, they never really adapted Sonic Adventure 2. They kind of did. They adapted they adapted Sonic Adventure 2 in the most Archie Sonic way possible, where I was like, hey, here's some random anime characters. They're gonna do like a prequel to Sonic Adventure 2, and then it ended with City Escape. And then they were like, hey, go play Sonic Adventure 2. Only problem is Sonic Adventure 2 couldn't happen the way it does in the games because Knuckles was green and Tails was fake or something. So this issue is kind of seeking to go back and go like, well, what actually did happen in Sonic Adventure 2 in the Archie world? Which we will see right now. So we cut to the Prison Island where Sonic and Shadow are doing their famous I found you, Faker. You don't know the scene. If you're listening to this podcast, you know the scene. But what I find interesting is that it says Prison Island 1 year ago. Which is interesting because, first of all, comics just don't do that. Comics will never give like definitive time things. They will go like then or some time ago. The fact that it says 1 year ago is like interesting. And what's doubly interesting is Sonic was in space for a year after this event, and it's been this was at least a couple months before he was shot into space, and it's definitely been at least a couple months since he came back from space.
Yeah,
so,
I think they're just trying to be general.
Okay, but if they wanted to be general, you would say some time ago.
Well, I think the reason they do that is just simply because, like, in Archie, they actually do have, like you said, definitive, like, time skips, because they have, like, the 1 year time skip. So I think they're just like, a year ago. Last year. Yeah.
Well, I guess they could be saying, like, before the 1 year time skip, but again, fuck it, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just something interesting I saw.
The other interesting thing is that, so Flynn, obviously, he has to make his own version of Archie of SA2 that fits within the Archie Sonic canon and how the characters have been portrayed. For the most part, he nails it. There's one mess up he has, but for the most part, he does a lot of really cool little things that you might not even notice. So, for example, if you remember the game, if Flynn just wanted to kind of be like mindless about it, he could have just had Shadow be like, Faker, you're the fake hedgehog around here. You're comparing yourself to me? Ha! You're not even good enough to be my fake. In the game, he's like cocky and like haughty about it. But in this, he's like, you're comparing yourself to me? You're not even good enough to be my fake. He looks like disgusted because Archie Shadow is just kind of more of like an asshole in those early sections, like just very angry and hot-headed. Very rarely does he do like one-liners or anything like that. So Flynn actually keeps that and doesn't have him have kind of like that friendly banter with Sonic, which is kind of fun. He removes the ha. He gives him a more straight-laced like expression. And he's never like smiling. There is no I'm the coolest Shadow. This is just purely angry Shadow. So it's kind of cool.
Talk about, I was definitely gonna say, yeah, this Shadow would never say he's the coolest.
I'm the coolest.
Yeah, I've never noticed that. That's actually really cool. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff in here, and there's a fuck up I noticed, or I don't know if it's meant to be, if it is a fuck up, but it's interesting. But we'll get to that when we get to that. So yeah, they fight. The Rouge is like, hey, I'm going to the vault. What's interesting is they say those extra 6 emeralds, and so I think that's just like, oh fuck, all the emeralds are in one place. Like it's fine.
Yeah. Well, and also you got to remember, there's not 7 in this world. There's like billions. So it just means like Gun just has like 6 in the emerald. Then that's why they're coming here. Is that they have a bunch.
Yeah, and they need 7 for the Eclipse Cannon and for Super Saiyan and Super Shadow at the end. And if you recall, in that issue, what, 98, 99, whatever the SA2 issue was, we see Shadow steal the Chaos Emerald from the Station Square Vault. So that would be the 7th, which is pretty cool. But yeah, so they're fighting. And then we cut to present day outside the Egg Dome. So this audience, as you would know if you read it, takes place concurrently with the 200 arc, with kind of that final Eggman battle thing. This is the night before the battle. They're all sleeping in under a force field in the Egg Dome, or outside the Egg Dome. And Shadow literally just walks up and knocks on it. He's like, hey, Sonic, you got a sec? And he's like, yeah, sure, what's up? And he's like, so, look. Which I think, when you consider that all of these things are happening, like, if you did, like, a definitive cut of, like, Sonic, like, 198, 199, 200, with all these scenes fit in, it's fucking hilarious. That's like, oh yeah, before the climactic battle with Sonic and Eggman, all this other shit happened.
Sonic's a busy guy.
Yeah, but so basically, Shadow's like, there's another thing going on that could fuck things up for you, so we got to go handle that. And Sonic's like, oh yeah, wake up the Freedom Fighters. He's like, no, don't do that.
Yeah. Well, and he's just like, I'm just asking because, it's a courtesy call. It's like, well, do you want it or not? Otherwise we'll take care of it.
Yeah. And so Sonic, he burrows under the ground and up into the up next to Shadow, which is cute and fun, but also it's like, so could Metal Sonic, if Eggman wanted to, could he just come and burrow down and get into the force field?
Probably, and then I guess we gotta fight him.
I guess. I mean, to be fair, look, Eggman could deal with the fucking force field if he so wanted to,
which he tries to in this issue, and he would have.
He would have. But yeah, so they so Shadow's like, all right, we gotta go deal with there's something in the observatory. And Sonic's like, all right, well, I'll race you. And again, it's a fun character moment where Shadow's like, he looks upset, and then he's like, huh. He has like a little smile, and then he follows after him. He's so cool. I like him. But yeah, hot take, I think Archie Shadow is pretty cool, actually.
He is pretty cool. What a guy.
Yeah. Anyway, and then so we cut back to 1 year ago, and Robotnik's like, hey, so the island's gonna explode. And then what's interesting is, so Eggman says that, and in the games the line is, get out of there right now before the island blows up with you on it. And then Sonic goes, blows up. In here, Robotnik says, I've set the charges. The island will blow in 5 minutes. And then Sonic goes, wait, explode? It's like, he didn't say explode. And I know that means the same thing, but the way in which he said it, and maybe it's just because I'm used to the way it's said in that scene, it sounds like he is saying, like, wait, what did he say? Like, it's just a weird detail.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Rouge is like, but I'm in the vault and with the Chaos Emeralds.
Because this is Archie Eggman, he's just like, die, and then we'll just get it later.
Although, doesn't that kind of defeat the whole purpose of the plan? Like,
Well, no, he's like, well, if it doesn't, plan B, you die. Sorry.
yeah. But so, anyway, that does explain why Rouge is not working with Eggman later in this version, because he tried to murder her. But yeah, and then in this version also, Sonic's like, okay, wait, because also no one Sonic knows is on this island.
Yeah.
So he's like, I guess I'll help you find your friend. And he's like, look, that's not cool. I'll like truce for now so we can go save your friend. And Shadow's like, I guess. And so we just get a cool scene where the two of them rush through Green Forest, which is great. I can totally hear the music in my head. The like, it's great. And they burrow in, they get Rouge, and they warp out of there. And Shadow just conveniently warps them to the desert, which maybe there was something established, maybe there wasn't. I don't know, but it feels.
He probably just teleported him to an Eggman base he knew, which is the pyramid.
That makes sense.
Maybe that's where that is probably where they're supposed to rendezvous, because that's where Eggman base was in SA2.
That makes sense, yeah. But so, and then Rouge says her line where she's like, "Oh, it's so unlike you to come and rescue," and then he cuts her off. He's like, "Shut up! I was only after the emeralds. Give."
Well, and since they're not on a team anymore, it also explains why, like, when Shadow shows back up in Preboot, she's not like, my best friend Shadow. She's just like, well, that guy was a fucking asshole.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that does explain it. But then Sonic's like, so you want to like go into space or whatever? And Rouge is like, yeah, let's do it. And then we cut back to present day, where Rouge and Sonic are once again conversing. And they're like, okay, so Robotnik converted his observatory into a big fuck off laser, and he's gonna shoot it at your force field and blow up like you guys and also like half of the Egg Dome. And Sonic's like, hold on a minute, isn't that kind of like insane? Like, and Shadow's like, yeah, have you not been paying attention?
And he goes, dude, you got lost? Are you stupid?
Yep. And Shadow's like, you had a head start. Yeah, basically Sonic's like, look, Eggman's a little crazy, but he's not that crazy. And Shadow's like, no, he definitely is. And so they're like, all right, let's just deal with the big beam. And so they're fighting, and it cuts back and forth between present and past, where between them trying to get this laser and Sonic and Rouge infiltrating Pyramid Cave. And then, okay, so they go up. Okay, hold on. Explaining this is going to be a nightmare. Okay, so they go up into space in the past while they're trying to disable the cannon in the present. Then the past, Sonic and Shadow are fighting, and we get what I titled in my notes, hashtag not my Shadow redemption. Mostly because, no Amy. So it's instead just Rouge, I guess, just shows him like some home video, which I don't even know what she would have, I guess, what would she have shown him?
Yeah, that's where Flynn just has to be super vague, because like, I don't know, because like he wasn't really that close to Maria, but like he like kind of thinks he is, and also like because he has his new memories, but then also like she like died for him. So I think it just might be a thing where just kind of showing like who Maria really was, because again, in his head he's like, oh, you want revenge, you want me to kill all these people. So I don't know, just probably like something that shows like Maria was not a cold, heartless killer, because not to skip too far ahead, but again, whenever Shadow dies in SA2, the idea is like, oh, this is the promise that I made to you. In this, he does not say this is the promise. He just says like, this is what you wanted, because there is no promise. There's no thing like that. So it's just like, oh, like this is what you wanted. You wanted people to be happy. So it's probably just something like that.
It's a video of her just looking at the screen going, hey, Shadow, just in case I die, please do not destroy the world. And he's like, oh, well, this is awkward. Okay, then we come back to the present, and they destroy the hinges on the gun, and they just make it drop, and so it's pointing right at the Egg Dome. And they're like, oh, fuck. And then we come back to the past, and the Bio Lizard is like, I'm going to stick the arc up my ass, and also we're going to turn super. And then they do, and so the Bio Lizard's there, and they're fighting, and their auras are blue and orange, which is cool. And then in the present, Shadow's like, hey, I'm going to take off my inhibitor. Okay, here's the interesting part. So in the present, Shadow's like, I'm going to take off my inhibitor rings because they're trying to mirror it. They're trying to go like, all right, Shadow using chaos control to destroy this big gun is like when he used it to warp the arc. So he takes off his inhibitor rings and uses his chaos control to destroy this gun. And he falls off the thing. And then we cut to, in the past where he uses chaos control to warp the arc and he falls. When they show him falling in the past, he still has his inhibitor rings on, which you could say is a mistake, except in the next panel, which is mirroring it, he doesn't have his inhibitor rings on.
Well, yeah, because they're not paralleling him taking off his inhibitor rings. They're just paralleling stopping a laser. Because in SA2, he doesn't take them off or anything. That's only in the movie.
Well, okay. Yes and no, because at the end of the game, he goes to Rouge and he's like, "Hey, here's this ring." Like Sonic does.
But that's not a thing in SA2. That's made up for 06.
Right, but I guess I always thought that in universe, again, because you have that ring scene at the end, that like the Sonic X version where the rings come off was meant to be like the canon version. Otherwise, why does he fall and Sonic doesn't?
Right. I mean, the idea is just probably that Sonic's built different. which is literally what the game's about. So
I guess that's fair. But anyway, he's gonna fall off the gun, but then Sonic catches him, and he's like, "No, we're not doing that." But I guess it's funny because like he would have fallen it wouldn't have been comfortable, but like he probably would have been fine.
Oh yeah, he would have survived, but it just would have sucked.
Yeah, it would have been painful.
Yeah, well, and it's just super cute, like the idea of like him just like running over and making sure to catch Shadow. And again, like the whole story, the whole heart of it is that Sonic's and Shadow's relationship throughout the comic has been very, very hostile. But then like there's always those moments where he does help out Sonic. And so this kind of just like fully places a bow on that idea because Sonic does help him during the him getting his memories back. But there's not been a moment since Shadow's turned good of like their relationship being a focal point, which is, pretty important to Shadow and Sonic is their relationship. That's never been a thing in the comic, really. It's kind of always been like them passing each other or just having brief, interactions before they part ways. So kind of having a thing where like they kind of fully support each other and help each other. They're having fun banter. He's enjoying Sonic's company. Sonic actually cares about him. It's really, really great. And like, it's just a really smart way to also reintegrate SA2 so that it's like, okay, here's a general idea of what it's like in the Archieverse. So you also get to kind of fill in some of the lore, which is fun for people like me. Yeah, it's just really cool. Also, really smart that when they go super, all the emeralds are green. So Flynn made sure to make that was correct. And then also, so the one fuck up he makes is that Shadow should not know Chaos Spear, because later it's a big deal in the like Ken Pender's pre-Flynn era where it's like, oh, he uses like any chaos powers. He's like, what? I can do this? Like he knows about chaos control, but like anything else, he's like, what? I can make like shields, and then he like never uses Chaos Spear anywhere else. So that's a fuck up. He shouldn't have that. But otherwise, everything else like connects very, very well. And it's really, really cool. So
okay, maybe he did get amnesia, but specifically about that.
For one thing. By the way, I think it is absolutely hysterical that from Sonic's perspective, Shadow goes blasting down towards space and then he just goes and pops out because he got teleported by the BEM.
You're right. It's really funny. I mean, here's the thing. In universe, it's never made any sense why Sonic couldn't catch him.
I mean, at least in this, they bothered to give him like I'm blasting downward like aura around him or whatever, so it's like, oh, he like flew off or something, but I don't know. Yeah. Well, but I do think it's very funny that it makes more sense in Archie that it's like Sonic's like, holy shit. You're just gone.
Yep. What's also an interesting detail is that I assume this is deliberate because when Super Shadow first shows up, he's completely chrome colored, he's all bright and shiny. But when we see him later, he's darker. His fur is like he's like slowly turning back to black, as if like his super form is fading out. No, that's cool.
Yeah, they do that in the movie too, which is pretty nice.
I don't remember that, but I'll take your word for it. Anyway, then they're like, well, the big lasers is down. And then there's a moment that's supposed to be sweet, but like, so basically Sonic's like, all right, Shadow's like, all right, well, go get some rest because you got a big fight with you got your big final battle with Eggman tomorrow. And Sonic's like, oh, you're not planning on stealing my spotlight? And Shadow goes like, oh no, like this thing with the doctor, like that's your fight. Like I'll let you settle it yourself. And he's like, oh, I appreciate that. And it's a sweet moment, but also it's basically Shadow going, no, I will not help you. Like,
yeah, but it is entirely from the perspective of like, yeah, I'm not gonna take away your thunder, man. This is your thing.
yeah, I know. It just is funny. Like,
yeah, no, I get you. What you mean.
Yeah, and then Rouge is like, so you guys like each other, and Shadow's like, no.
He goes, more than I like you. But
And it's also, I just love this image of Shadow in this last panel where he's just like, nah, and he's got a smile and he's waving. Like, he's just a dude.
No, the art's super good, and it's an actual, like, we've seen. I mean, you and I read all the Shadow stuff, the pre-boot Shadow stuff. It really is just nice seeing him go from like, Sonic, you're here, to like, now he just likes Shadow, or he likes Sonic. He's just mellowed out,
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then we get to Shadow Saga Part 3, Sonic Universe number 3, Old Soldiers, which is maybe my funniest example of like, oh yeah, when 200 was going on, also this other shit was happening. So we learn that Eggman and Commander Tower were both, basically Eggman, the morning of his climactic final battle with Sonic, also went, hey, you know what? Fuck Gamma. Like,
he's
right?
crazy enough that I'll allow it. I like that he's just like, what else was on my to-do list today? All right, terrorize the city. We're gonna kill Sonic in the afternoon. Right, fuck Gamma.
But the justification they give is that he's like, I can't let anything interfere with my big final battle with Sonic. But it's like, there are a lot of things that could have interfered with your big final battle with Sonic. Also, they're just conveniently, Commander Tower is like, also, I think it'd be cool if Gunn got in contact with Gamma. And from what they are understanding is like, look, Gamma hasn't had like an oil change in a while, so he probably needs some help. And so Shadow's like, oh, okay. And so basically the idea is like, oh, so like Gamma will be the third member of Team Dark. All right. And we see, meanwhile, well, who is Eggman going to send to track down Gamma? Well, none other than Omega. And Omega's like, no.
And you can't turn traitor yet. You just woke up.
Yeah, he does say that. And and Omega's like, I want to kill Sonic. Like, why am I doing this? Is bullshit. Yeah. And he's like, no, that you go. He says, and Eggman goes, because the rodent is mine. Now do as you're told, or I'll put you back into storage for another decade.
Gamma looks so scared. Omega looks so scared.
He does.
Dude, it looks like Eggman said like a really bad word. He's like, dude.
POV when you're talking to your grandpa at Thanksgiving.
Grandpa, no.
Oh god.
Did you call him a rodent? Dude. All right, I'm leaving.
Although it is,
he goes, time to go smash a tin can.
Yeah, although it is funny because this is like happening concurrently with the same arc where Snively was like, "You animals would never understand."
The animals don't know where perfume is. Dude, these humans suck.
Yeah, they're not great. Actually.
No wonder he joins our side.
But yeah, so basically he's like, Commander Tower is like, all right, Shadow, you need any support when you go get Gamma? And he's like, no, I'm the ultimate life form. I can handle this alone.
Yeah, see, IDW fans, you get it right here.
Yeah, but then in the hall, he's like, oh, I'm sad. Like,
why do I suck so bad?
Yeah, he's like, well, I couldn't save Metal Sonic, so like, I'll get this one. This is my day. Yeah. And then also, I've never noticed this in the background. Tower is just kind of like, what's up with him? Like,
he looks like, I'm proud of that boy. I'm gonna really go start the stew.
He looks like fucking Bigfoot in the background. Like, Bigfoot Patterson footage. Also, but yeah, so Shadow's like, okay, I gotta go get Gamma. He goes out to the helicopter and he's just so mean to this poor gun soldier. And also the G on the side of this helicopter really looks like a C, and it confused me for a moment. I was like, is this a copyrighted helicopter? What is this? Yeah, and then we see
I don't know if Flynn got confused or if the editor got confused because he says, "Time for me to go press my scarf." Well, he only uses the scarf in issue 198, not 199, where he's in the egg, whatever. And this is definitely after they fought the Falcon. So I'm guessing. Yeah, I mean, it's just funny. He doesn't use the scarf in his final fight with Sonic. So that I like that in universe because I don't know. Again, maybe Flynn forgot for this line. Maybe he thought he was going to go use the Egg Phoenix somehow. I don't know how he would do that. But regardless, I think it's very funny to think like he goes and he does his scarf. And they're like, shit, Eggman, Sonic's really, he's got there way faster than Paul. He's like, shit, I can't use the scarf. No.
That would be. I was thinking he was like ironing it and it just like caught on fire. And he's like, ah, fuck. Like
nothing works for me anymore.
He's got like the ironing robot. It's got a little bird inside it, and it's like it's just like.
At least the rodent wouldn't have done this. Like, whoa!
Is rodent the new thing?
No, but it's always a bird. But you know,
yeah. That anyway. Yeah. So he's like, I gotta go prepare for my big final battle with Sonic. Then we get to the drop zone where again the gun soldier's like, oh well, this is a bad time to find out you're afraid of heights, and Shadow's like, shut the fuck up.
He really hates this guy.
But there's just a cool couple panels where he just falls and he just like does a cool Spider-Man landing, which is neat. And it's funny because Gamma is like, hey, you're stupid, because he leaves some footprints, and I guess what it is like, and I think he does this later on in the issue too, where he leaves some footprints and he like doubles back and like hides somewhere, and Shadow's like, oh well, thanks for not blowing my head off, which is the actual line.
He's so happy though. Hey Gamma.
He is. He is really happy. And basically, Gamma's like, I'm not going to join your stupid team. He's like, okay, but have you considered that I'm the ultimate life form?
Some stupid teams are used. Sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, basically, he's like, why would the ultimate life form join Gun? Like, what could they offer you? And he's like, well, having a bed is nice. Gamma's like, well, I don't sleep, but I guess having like a power station would be nice. So,
yeah. Like, well, I do really like Shadow's explanation of like again, the IDW, blah, blah, blah. But it's just like something as simple as just like, why do you work for them? It's like, no, it makes things way easier for me. Like I can get anywhere where I need to go or I want to go. I have a ton of information. I have backup if I need it. Which obviously is ironic considering Shadow is choosing not to have backup because he feels like he has to prove, that it is worth or whatever. And it's really, really cool. I don't know. It's just something that simple. Why is Shadow on a team? Because it's useful. The end.
I mean, yeah. But no, yeah, it's neat. And like, it would be interesting. Would it? Maybe. I don't know. The alternate universe where Gamma joins Team Dark instead would be interesting. But alas, Gamma is not long for this world because who should show up but Omega? He just comes crashing through like the Kool-Aid Man. I never know Shadow's face. He's like, ah!
Dude, and like Gamma looks like he's about to like do the sickest like limbo.
He does. And then we got a thing for the power scalers when Omega shows up. He's like, wow, you're even stronger than Sonic. That's awesome. But I gotta fight this other guy first, so you go away for a moment. But yeah, and so Gamma tries to like run away. And so I don't know exactly what happens. I think Shadow goes for a spin dash, and Omega just kind of like sucks him into his arm cannon.
It's really funny.
And it just goes like, because Shadow has a little bubble from his like ball that's like a question mark and an exclamation mark, and Omega just shoots him like a million miles away. It's really funny.
It's just a creative way to get rid of Shadow too. I like it.
Yeah, and then we get a fun series of pages where we mirror Omega and Gamma. So Gamma, he's running away, and Omega's like, dude, you suck. Like, you're old and I'm new, and you don't have like you got these like shitty guns and that shitty jet disc. But like me, I got like all these guns and I'm like super powerful. It's awesome. And it's like a series of panels. And Gamma is like, well, yeah, but like actually you are also kind of lame when you think about it, because like I'm really fast and I'm like an assassin, and you're just like an arsenal. And the way it's mirrored is really cool. So like the first panel is like Gamma, he's doing like he's running. There's like these speed lines. And then when Gamma does the same panel, it's him just like crashing through these like trees. So like one's fast, one's like powerful. And then
the paneling's also like for Gamma, he has like these rectangle ones, but then he also has like a circle. He has like a bent one, and then for Gamma, it's just like square, 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 rectangle.
Yeah, and then when he like Gamma, he like jumps the crevice. You use like his jet disc, whereas Omega just like kind of like plops. He just kind of like goes for it.
Yeah.
And then Gamma again, like he's like tricky, so he creates like these footprints in the snow, and he like hides behind a rock. Whereas Omega's just like plowing through. He literally is like a snow plow. He's just plowing through it. And Gamma is like, yeah, I'm gonna get him. He just like shoots him, and he like knocks him over. And there's a really cool panel after Gamma goes like, you're an arsenal, I'm an assassin, where they're in the snow and they're both silhouetted, except for the eyes. Gamma's eyes are green, Omega's eyes are red. I think they play. Do they play with? I think they play with the eyes a little more or later. Okay, no, they don't. I was wondering if when Gamma. Well, we'll get to it, but no, Omega's eyes stay red.
There is something they do with the red and green though.
Yeah, which we will see momentarily. But so Omega's like you, and Omega says you made your point. Like it's just a really cool panel. I really like it. And Gamma's like, yeah, and you kind of like there is no denying you were made after me. Like, so you should the resistance probably needs better than me. And Omega's like, you know what, you are pretty cool actually. So I will give you a glorious destruction. And he just points all of his guns at Gamma. And Gamma has a cool line where he goes, you'll never destroy all of me, brother. You cannot destroy my soul. And Omega, I'm just quoting the book now, but this last exchange is just pure fire. The meme where it's like, the meme where the guy is writing and the paper's on fire. That's this last exchange between Gamma and Omega. It's great. And Omega's like, we don't have souls. And he's like, well, maybe. You'll see. He's like, all right, upload complete. And then he gets blown the fuck up. And his bird flies off. Is this the right bird? Isn't Gamma's bird pink?
I think it's the correct bird for what Archie did in Back in Adventure.
That's fair.
Because I think the birds were a little weird in terms of their coloring.
Yeah. But yeah, and then Omega, he starts like tweaking, and there's two different kinds of bubbles coming from him. Interestingly enough, and maybe they fixed this for the trade. Unfortunately, my stuff is back at my parents' place, so we can't do another segment of Ace Goes to His Long Box. But they don't do like Gamma's bubble style with like the green rectangles. Gamma's are just like normal speech bubbles. They are still differentiated from Omega's though, because basically
I think that's to represent like the soul basically idea, right? It's like, so he's inside him, and it's like, oh, he has like normal speech bubbles, and then Gammas are the big square ones, and they're red, and then they slowly transform into circles, and then eventually then they're clean and they're white.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're going for.
Yeah, because this last one where he goes, as my code integrates, Gamma may disappear when my mission lives on. And that one where it says Gamma may disappear is like pink, and it's so. And he's also like, man, I feel bad. I have like emotions now, and like I killed my brother or
they use like
myself.
The snow really well.
Pardon?
And they use the snow really well. It's like on his face.
Yeah, the snow is great. And he's like, there's also a line where he's like, he says, now what? My purpose was to crush all life. Now the thought makes me uneasy. And now I have thoughts and can be uneasy.
Yeah.
Which is cool. And Shadow's like, well, I guess, I was going to offer the other guy to join Gun, but I guess you? And he's like, well, how about we show some of that fire and doom to the Doctor? And he's like, yeah, I'll get revenge on the Doctor for wasting my potential. And I think that's really funny in contrast to the fact that, like, the Doctor is having a mental breakdown as we speak.
Just don't tell him.
Yeah. And then there's a cute moment. Cute's probably not the right word, but there's a nice moment where they make a grave for Gamma. And although it's interesting, it's very much like kind of a ceremonial grave because in every shot there's nothing left of Gamma.
Yeah.
And they pick him up, and Shadow is sad because he's like, well, I guess Gamma's dead? Question mark or whatever. he's not like, look, Gamma is not in this world anymore, is all I know. And everyone's like, Shadow, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Because we have another mission, again, unionize people, that we have to go on right now. So then we get to Sonic Universe number 4. This cover of Team Dark is awesome.
Yeah. Well, what'd you think of the third issue?
It's good. That shit with Gamma and Omega is just great. That's probably the highlight of the whole arc for me.
Yeah. So that issue is always interesting to me because I feel like I probably should feel things for Gamma, and I don't. But I also am not like disappointed in that because it still like feels really cool how it's done, and like the way like in this universe, Omega and Gamma are like one character, and like the idea of like him getting a soul and all that stuff is still really compelling and like neat, and like the directing quote unquote, but like the storyboarding and all that stuff feels very cinematic. So like I wasn't sad that Gamma left. It didn't feel like Flynn kind of made me fall in love with him and then feel bad for his death, but it just felt like just so cool as an idea of like making Gamma's death and Omega's kind of awakening, making that as an introduction to a new character. So regardless of if like I didn't feel anything for Gamma dying, I still felt something for the idea of like how this character's created. And it's just really interesting and cool. So
it is really cool, and also like the idea of just the idea of Gamma and Omega being able to interact, like because obviously Gamma was dead at the time when Omega was introduced, so them being able to talk to each other and then kind of merging into one, like it's cool. It's just, and also it's just another instance of like what I love about this comic, where it's like, you know what, let's do something interesting. Like we could just do what the games did, where it's like Omega's just like some robot who rebels. But like, we have this dangling plot thread from Adventure. We never finished off the Gamma plot, so let's do something cool with that. And let's tie it into Shadow's story of like this living weapon thing.
Yes, and how he feels like once again he's failed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we cut to issue number 4, and this cover is awesome. If I can find a good way to crop this in 16:9, you better believe this is going to be the thumbnail. I might not be able to though, because I'm picturing it right now, and it's just going to be like Shadow's face, really big. Anyway, So issue number 4, part 4, the Ultimate Life Form. And they're like, all right. And for some reason, they're not bringing Omega. So they're like, all right, we got to go get another Chaos Emerald. We're going to use Hope's machine. We're going to hop in there into the special zone.
Well, they say later, like, they're doing, like, tests on Omega to, like, make sure he's, like, fully good to go on missions. And they're like, all right, now I'm good to go. They said I'm free.
I see. Rouge is like, well, first of all, there's a fun bit where she goes, we're about to brave the unknown. Excited? And Shadow goes, not particularly. And she goes, you certainly know just what to say to a girl.
That's pretty good.
It's great. And then basically they're like, hey, Hope, so the machine's going to work this time, right? And she's like, almost, yeah, probably yes. And Rouge goes, sweet kid, but she's no Robotnik. And Shadow goes, yeah, and for that we should be thankful.
And if you look at Rouge's silhouette, she's like, I fucking hate this guy.
Yes. But yeah. So then
no
we get
sex appeal. Moving on.
No sex appeal. What are you, Ranma? Jeez.
But
yeah, and so then we cut to the special zone, and I gotta say, I love how the special zone is depicted in this issue.
Yeah,
it's just like all the psychedelic shit and what they do later on with it. Yeah, so they end up in the special zone, and they see none other than Feast. I'm not calling him the other thing. So what's great is I only just now realized this. They're on top of the Sonic 3 and Knuckles ball.
Yeah, every time they go to the special stage, they're on one of those balls.
Yeah, that's fun. And also Rouge has her little scouter from SA2, and she's like, I don't even know what the fuck I'm looking at.
Well, and again, like this is, I don't know, it's just super cool. I just love the idea of like, you have this like weird character who was in like one issue back in like the double digits. He got mentioned again during the Nagas like World Adventure arc, and then Flynn was like, let's make him the god of the Chaos Emeralds, and he's going to interact with Shadow the Hedgehog. It's just awesome.
Yeah, but so yeah, no, it's great. And he's like, well, look, if you want the Chaos Emerald, you got to go through my maze or whatever. And Shadow's like, I don't think so. Chaos Control. And I love this depiction of Chaos Control of him just like snapping. Yeah. And he's like, oh shit. Why that didn't work? Okay.
Well, it does just the fact he goes, Chaos Control.
Yeah. Okay, I kept. My brain was trying to think of a way to mix the phrase chaos emerald and erectile dysfunction, and nothing was coming to me.
Joke abort. Joke abort.
Because my brain immediately went to Shadow, going like, "I swear this doesn't usually happen."
And Rouge is like, "Oh my gosh, third time's the charm."
Anyway. Oh, it's good to be back.
Vice never has erectile dysfunction.
What?
Look at that big boy. Anyway. You think Rouge was talking about the scouter or the energy? No. It was the girth. Anyway.
Anyway, so they're like, we gotta. Hold on, we clearly need a minute. So okay, so they're like,
whoa.
So they're like, okay, we gotta go get the emerald because we can't just warp to it. And Feast is like, your challenge began 30 seconds ago. You have 30 more left. Which, by the way, based on how this goes, they would have just gotten it if they had 30 seconds, not 30 extra seconds. Not only would they have gotten it, they would have gotten it with like 29 seconds to spare.
Oh yeah.
Although
I shouldn't have complained.
Pardon?
I shouldn't have been babies and complained.
That is true. Maybe. Although I mean, anyway.
Knowing Feist, he probably just lied and said.
Oh, definitely. But yeah, so they get kicked out, and they're like, so, and Tower is like, you couldn't get the Chaos Emerald, and Rouge is like, yeah, you go in there and fight God. See how well you do. But yeah, so Shadows goes and mopes and fights Omega, like spars with him.
It's a really funny page. It's just one joke. It's just Omega saying a ton of shit, and every time Shao just replies, humph, humph, humph.
And he's like, well, I'm gonna go. Yeah, he says here, I've got clearance duty, so I'll be with you next time. And I'm gonna shoot him.
which he does.
Yeah, I love him. God, I love Omega. He's like, I'll shoot God. Like,
yeah.
By
the way, so are you using the volumes, like the physical one?
Nah, it's back at my parents' place. I'm using a completely legitimate other source.
Okay, so you might have noticed that the emerald is green. Wrong, incorrect, Flynn. The green, we don't have the green one. Mammoth Mogul has the green one. Or no, he has the gray one, and someone else has the green one. I forget who it is. But regardless, the green one should not be here. That is a fuck up, and we know it's a fuck up because in the graphic novel version they changed it to red. So.
Oh, fun.
So back in the day, I think on Ian Flynn's forum, he's like, yeah, that was my fault. The in-universe reason is chaos magic.
That's fun. You know, maybe controversial opinion. Shadow's typically depicted with the green Chaos Emerald. He always looks so much cooler with the red one. Like, and I don't think that should be a controversial opinion because obviously it's like, oh, the red character looks better with the red one. But like, he always has the green one. He like, I don't know. It's weird. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Anyway, but yeah, so Shadow goes up to the top of Guardian Mountain, which is where Gun HQ is located to mope. And we get a really nice scene where Hope comes up there. And we find out that I guess Flynn was just always doing this. Because he goes, that's pretty great. You can see all the way to Soliana from here. It's like, that's my game.
Yeah. But in this comic, it actually is cool because like, oh, Soliana exists. That's neat. It's like a real place.
Well, I think we knew it. Well, when did they confirm that 06 like happened? Was that not until the encyclopedia comes out?
That's only in the encyclopedia. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, point is, she's like, hey, you know, it's cool that like you didn't get the emerald. He's like, no, it's not. He says like, I'm the ultimate life form. I'm not supposed to fail.
Yeah,
and then
Hope's perfect.
Yeah. And then Hope's like,
Bill.
look, man, my life ain't no bowl of cherries either. um, she's like, you know, Snively told me to leave like the Freedom Fighters, and then they got fucked up by him. Um,
Yeah,
and then he's
she felt like she left them behind and like betrayed
yeah,
them in a sense, like even if like not really, but like in her heart, she's like, oh, I listened to like some evil bastard, and then they all like got attacked, and I wasn't even there because I listened to my evil Nazi uncle cousin. So
yeah, and then and Shadow says as much. He's basically like, look, there's nothing wrong with trusting your family, and like, you're working with us now because you did that, and like, you're doing okay. And she's like, well, then you're also doing okay. And she says, well, you know what you're up against this time, so you haven't failed. You've just set yourself up for future success. And there's a cute panel where she's got like a smug look, and Shadow's like, he's like tapping his nose or something. I don't know what he's doing, but he looks adorable.
It's funny. It's like, yeah, you're like, huh.
Yeah. And the whole time they're up there, or not really. Well, there's like this smoke swirling, and at first the smoke swirls into Snively. At first, the smoke swirls into Snively while Hope is telling her story. And then once Shadow's like got his confidence back, and she's saying like, and she also says like, when we first met, I thought you were really scary, but like, we'll look out for each other, and I'll keep inventing stuff, and you'll keep being cool, and we'll be great. And I specifically like when I first met you, I thought you were a scary line, because if you remember, Ian, when they first met, he just like awkwardly stared at her from
staring at her. She's like, well, she's like, who is that guy? Why is he staring at me?
Yeah. But as the smoke continues to swirl, it swirls into like Maria above him. I guess now that I'm not sure what this is meant to be, because obviously throughout the whole comic, they've very much been kind of linking Hope and Maria. I guess maybe it's meant to be like, I don't know. I guess what's your interpretation of this?
You can watch my Archie Shadow video where I do just this. So this whole scene is like brilliant. It's almost too good. Not in the sense of like, oh, Flynn can't write good stuff, but like it really does feel like a step above like what he usually does. Even in Archie, where he's like really using so let's break it down, like symbolism stacked on symbolism here. So what is Hope's name? Hope. What does she do in this scene? Gives Shadow hope. What does he need hope from? Well, he needs hope from the fact that he believes like his one purpose is to do this thing. What was Shadow doing before he learned his purpose, right? He was like, I need a purpose. I want to know why I was built, why I was created in Archie's universe. And then he learned from Maria. It's like, or from Professor Gerald, it's like, oh, you're supposed to protect everyone. And then he's like, oh, I can't leave Maria behind. And Maria's like, no, Shadow, you need to go and protect everyone, and you'll have me in your heart. And so the whole story, he hasn't mentioned Maria a single time, but what he does talking about is like, I'm a failure, I'm supposed to be perfect. And like, who cares if like Gerald told him to be perfect? The reason it matters that he needs to be perfect is because Maria believed in him to go do things. So what happens in the scene? The fog it's literally like fog. It's this haze. They're up on this mountain or whatever. They, and they talk about like, oh, you can see Soliana, this beautiful place or whatever, but there's this fog everywhere. And then what happens is that the fog is what is clouding both of their judgments. So you have the fog turning into Snively. Snively is looming over Hope and kind of being the thing. And then Shadow steps in and is like, no, that doesn't need to define you. And then what happens at the end? It turns into Maria. Well, Maria's not bad, is she? But what does Shadow look up to her for? It's in the part where it's like, hey, you're just like me actually, and we're gonna be okay in the end, right? And what does he do? He looks up to Maria and he's like, is that all right? And then she fades away and it turns into a bright sun as he finally has clarity and he says, right. So he embraces hope. He embraces that he can just be someone who can fail and then he can grow and change. So to me, Maria represents basically this idea of like this thing that's literally looming over Shadow. Now he doesn't see Maria as this negative thing, but it is something to where like his idea of like, I have to be this perfect weapon, that comes from her belief in him and not wanting to like let her down or anything like that. And that's even set up during SA2 where it's like, this is what you want, Maria, right? Because we're reminding you of SA2 and his connection to her and trying to do the right thing. So the idea of like hope is this other Maria, that's literally what Shadow thought. But in her instance, she doesn't actually place any burdens on Shadow. She places the idea of like, no, you can work together and you can have friendships and you can fail and you don't have to be perfect. And so at the end of the day, the fog of Maria, this cloud that hangs over his head, it fades away and it turns into the sun and now they can see everything. It's fucking great.
Yes. Yeah. Man. Ian, I think this comic is good.
That's why like, I'm like, Flynn, do you know?
Yeah.
Because it's like layers of like symbolism and stuff. And I would believe so, just because obviously he uses them in the story concretely. Like literally the last shot is the sun beaming over them, obviously. There's no more fog. It's only the clouds now, and the clouds part. The fog obviously represents them not being able to see things. Her name's Hope. She's literally parallel to Maria, blah, 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 blah. Like, all that stuff is very clearly intentional. But just, like, how well it works. Like, it literally almost makes me cry, like, every time. And sometimes it does make me cry, because it's just so beautiful, like, as a scene. So, very, very good. Excellent. Excellent.
Also shout out to you and Low Arts stuff. I did not watch your Shadow video because I did not want spoilers. But I have on numerous occasions gone and listened to his cover of I Am All of Me, because he's a talented bastard and can do music as well, apparently. In that he uses this cute picture of Hope hugging Shadow. So
yeah, we use that in the video. So that's where it's from.
But yeah, and so then we go and they're like, all right, well, let's go back in the special zone and get that Chaos Emerald. And I really like the scene where Shadow goes like, Team Dark ready. And Rouge is like, Team Dark, I guess we're really sticking with that one. But what I like is she says that Shadow is completely earnest with it. He's like, no, we're Team Dark. Like that's our thing.
Yeah.
Whereas it would be in character for Rouge to be like, to have Marvel dialogue and be like, wow, what really are we calling ourselves? Is the Team Dark standing right behind me?
No, anyway. I'm Omega.
Yes.
No, this is Patrick.
This is Patrick. Anyway, but also there's an interesting line where Hope goes, sir, why are they called Team Dark? And he goes, that'll become evident in time, Miss Kintobor.
And we'll never know. Fuck! I hate Ken Penders. I'm kidding, but
I have to assume he's just saying like, well, because they're like our dark team that does dark stuff. But they never do.
It's given such they almost do, definitely.
Well, they almost end a world, but we'll get there.
Yeah, but I just mean, like, I feel like Flynn was genuinely because I mean, this is something we'll never get an answer to. In this story, they collect 2 Chaos Emeralds. Why does Gunn, narratively, if you're a writer, right? Why do they need? Because he could have just had them do any missions, right? Anything. But they are explicitly collecting Chaos Emeralds. What? To do what? So that's something to where, Flynn said before he dies, he's going to get the Lost Hedgehog tails out. And I really hope that he has an answer to this, because I really am interested in what was the plan. What is the idea of like having Gunn collect these 2? Because it's not like, in the story, we say exactly what they're using them for. We know in Archie's world, you can use 1 Chaos Emerald to like power. You can literally rewrite time with 1 Chaos Emerald, if you're crazy enough, like Eggman. So I'm sure they're using it for power and stuff like that, and to like keep their cities running and stuff. But like, that combined with like, like they're Team Dark or whatever, what does it mean? I really want to know what were narratively was Flynn having them collect the emeralds for? So
that is I mean, I thought about that. I was like, why are you going to get these emeralds? But I was like, whatever. That is a good question. What?
Yeah, because Flynn doesn't just do anything like accidentally in terms of like stuff like this, especially in Pre-Boot Archie, where he had things planned for a long time. So now, and also, this is we're skipping way ahead, but I might as well mention now because it's relevant here. Later, whenever we have like Ixis Nagus or whatever, and he's doing shenanigans, one character mentions that in the past, in his version of the past, Ixis Nagus like did some really crazy shit, and he has the emerald that he will eventually have, but he also has the red and the green emerald, which are the emeralds that Shadow collected for Gunn. So what's that narrative that we never got to see?
Yeah, I mean, what is the Lost Hedgehog Tales? Because I've been hearing about this as long as I've been a Sonic fan, and I always assumed it was just going to be like a summary of what was going to happen. But I feel like if that was what it was, it would have come out by now.
There's got to be some dumb legal shit behind the scenes that's happening, that like some weird shenanigan loophole that he cannot, for some reason, just talk about this. Because like every time people ask, he's like, yes, it will happen. I promise, Like, and again, in one interview, he's like, if I will be 80 and dying and I will still get it out to you guys. I promise you will get it one day. So something's up, right? But like, yeah, we have no idea. But yeah, it's just supposed to be like every single idea he had, for the story. But I think it was going to be like really in depth and all that stuff. Yeah, I really want to know. One day we'll find out.
I also just got so depressed because I realized, because my first thought was, once we get the Lost Hedgehog Tales, maybe like some fans will get together and do like because Archie Sonic Online's doing like a continuation of the original Archie universe, and I love that, and I think that's a good fan project. But I think it'd also be cool if like group of fans got together and like did Flynn's ideas.
They
and
probably will. That'll probably happen.
But then I got really depressed when I realized all our people are just gonna like feed it into AI, and we'll just get some like horrible monstrosity of like, guys, I finished Archie Sonic. It's like, oh, this is worse than nothing.
Honestly, with how passionate the Sonic fandom is, I don't think they would allow themselves to do AI because they're so creative and they have to have it lash out. So
you know what? That's fair. That's fair. You know what? We started this video ragging on Sonic fans, and for anyone who's still listening, that is true.
The twist is we're all crazy. So
we are all crazy. We have been talking for almost 2 hours. If you need it,
indeed.
10 minutes of that was Ian letting his dog out, though. But I digress. Anyway,
and talking about Ben 10.
And talking about Ben 10. But anyway, so they go in, and Feast is like, "Hey, you back?" And
he goes, "You ever
Shadow
played Sonic 1? Pretty cool, right?"
Yeah. And Shadow is like, and Shadow and Omega immediately are like, "Oh well, we're gonna go fight him." And Rouge is basically put it in your pants, boys. We gotta get the emerald.
Have you seen his girth?
Ian, no.
I thought that you were setting me up.
No.
Oh, well darn. Put it away, Feist.
But then, what? Ian, do you hear that off in the distance? Do you hear something? I think it sounds like
You're gonna be like the police.
Like what?
The police.
No, it sounds like Sonic 1 special stages. The
There we
bane
go.
of my fucking existence.
And the bane of Team Darks.
Yeah, because they go through the maze and they're trying to find it. I will say it's a little disappointing that like they're all green, but when they actually collect around the emerald, they're multicolored, like in the game, which is fun. Man, fuck those special stages. I don't know what episode it is where I went on a whole rant about those, but they are terrible. When I played Sonic Origins and I was getting the emeralds, there was one time I just loaded in and it just dropped me immediately into one of those like goal things. It's like what?
Yeah, it's nonsense.
I didn't do anything. Anyway, they get to it, and then I don't know what this is meant to be, like in terms of Shadow's arc of like, of believing in himself or whatever, because they fail again. They don't actually get the emerald like legitimately. Which I guess the point is like, well, fuck this guy. Like, who's he to say we can't have the emerald? Like,
the point is that he fails again, and instead he has a plan B. Like he actually has like other things they're gonna do. Yeah, it's not just like, oh, I fucking lost, we suck, right? It's like, okay, plan B, which is we shoot him and we just get in and and also think about it this way: Shadow's thing in the Gamma story, he's like, I don't need help, I can do it myself, I'm strong enough. So a lot of Shadow's thing has been about like his pride of like, no, I can do it, I'm the ultimate life form. And then what does he do? He just stoops to just like being sneaky and just being like, all right, we're just gonna shoot you in the face and take it, you know. And it's not even like through his power, right? Because he can't use chaos control or anything. So it's just like, all right, Omega, just shoot him in the face.
Yeah, and Shadow just have a shit-eating grin while Omega's doing it. The exchange is also just great, where Omega goes, "Plan B now, please," and Shadow goes, "Yes, Omega, Plan B." And then he has a cool bit where Feast is just freaking out. He's like, "How dare you assault a god in his own domain?" And he goes, and Shadow holds up the emerald and goes, "Deny me all you want, but with this, even a god must bow to the ultimate life form."
Which, by the way, I really like because, again, people take this out of context of like, I guess they just don't really even think about what he's saying. But what he's saying isn't like, haha, look at me, I'm so badass. What he's saying, like what this shows is like, it's like, oh yeah, you're a god. And I, like the ultimate life form, can't stand up to you. But so I need something else. But with this, I'm now stronger than you. Like, it's once again, Shadow being like, he needs something else in order to win. Or in order to be more powerful. There are things that are stronger than him. But you know what? Fuck you. I'm the ultimate life form. You know? So it's just really cool.
Yeah, and so they get back and they hand off the Chaos Emerald and Hope. There's an adorable panel of Hope hugging Shadow and his like quills like go all out. It's cute. I really like it. There's also a fun bit where Rouge goes, I will say, we shit on Archie Rouge a lot because she's weird and inconsistent. I like her in all these issues. I think
she's good. She has a fun personality, and I really like her in her next universe appearance. So, yeah, no, I agree.
Is the next universe appearance the one where she tries to genocide Blaze's world?
It's her best appearance. So we'll get to it.
We'll get to it. And she says, "Oh no, wait, her next appearance is probably not. It doesn't matter. Anyway, we'll see it when we see it." So she's like, "Oh, nice work, putting the herd on feast." And Omega goes, "It was only a small megaton of ordnance."
Yeah, him being all embarrassed.
Yeah. And he says, "With these two Chaos Emeralds, guns even more of a force to reckon with." Yeah. So, and there's even an ominous ... at the end. So yeah, I guess there was going to be something. But then
and from what we know, from like his encyclopedia page, Commander Tower's like a good guy. So it's not like some sinister thing, it would seem.
He wasn't going to be like, and now with this, I don't know. I can make it rain fire but specifically on Mobatropolis, because fuck those rodents.
Fuck those furries. No, those rodents. I go, whoa! Whoa!
Oh, jeez.
It's all the humans, those bastards.
Yeah, they're not great, but
they just start calling them skinwalkers.
Skinwalkers. Oh no. Anyway, but then what? We cut to 30 years later, where Larsu,
which is funny. Not. It's 30 years later in an alternate timeline.
I had the same thought. I was like, is this confirming that this is canon?
Yeah.
No. But no. So we will see that I don't know, sometime whenever we do the next universe arc. No, this is really, really good. I genuinely, though, again, I think it's because, again, like I was telling Ian before we started recording, like I had the trade paperback of this. This is one of the first Sonic trade paperbacks I got. I've read this back and forth to death. So for me, it's like, it's great, but there's nothing like too surprising per se. You know, it's like your cat, you know, like you love your cat, but you're not like, it's not like when it's a kitten, you know, and you're like, fuck, this is the coolest thing ever. But you still love that cat. And I love this cat. This analogy is terrible and falling apart, but I hope someone understands.
For IDW, it's a bird. For Archie Sonic, it's my fucking cat.
It's my cat.
Thank you, everybody.
So generally going into this, I was like, oh, this will probably be like an hour, which is short for us. And now it's feature length, which is great. I
think it speaks a lot that at a certain point you're just like, let me just quote page by page.
It's great. I don't know. Ian, thoughts?
No, I love it. I mean, again, just right off the bat, what a strong start to Sonic Universe. Just the idea of like Shadow, he just kind of consistently, or I guess inconsistently, appears throughout the comic after his his epiphany about his past. And I love that Flynn, like, it's such a simple thing, but it's just like, yeah, just give him a full story. And we're literally not going to see Shadow again for like another like couple of universe arcs. He's literally never going to appear in the main comic ever again. And yet he's my favorite version, even though he only has like 2 stories that are like fully about like him post being a dickbag, and finding about his past and what he cares about. And it's just like these universe arcs are just so good because, again, Flynn has 4 issues, so he knows I have to tell a complete story. It can't just be like, oh, here's 4 issues and then like, I don't know, something crazy happens, but the characters, they're still kind of stagnant and maybe lose something next time. It's like, no, every single one of them is a character storyline, either of propping that character up, breaking them down and kind of rebuilding them, or exploring something new. And universe is really just what makes Archie Sonic like what I love about it. Before it was just like a great weird comic in the Flynn era. Now it's just like one of my favorite stories ever, just because now I love characters, and now all the characters get to have that spotlight. They get to be the main character. They get to have their final clash, their final villain, all that kind of stuff. They get to have their emotional catharsis, and it's great. So great stuff.
I agree. Yeah, I don't really have a big final thoughts. Listen to the episode. Those were my thoughts. Yeah, I know, I'm tired. What should we do next?
Do we want to go back to IDW?
We can.
We can do that Knack miniseries.
You know what? Yeah, let's. Oh fuck! I didn't call him Fnac at the beginning. God damn it, commenter! You tricked me. Yeah, let's do. You know what? Sure. Fuck it. Let's do that. Yeah.
All right. That'll be next.
You heard it here first, folks. Ian, plug your shit.
I'm Ian Waffles. I don't do anything. You can find me on YouTube and Twitter at Ian Waffles. Bye.
Yeah, and hey, I plug sometimes.
I was just saying bye for me.
Yeah, but usually when we say bye at the same time.
Ah, my bad. And then that's all for me. So great, you go.
When did we become like an old married couple? What is this? Anyway, I'm here and I'm on a couple social medias at Silver1. Bye.
Bye.
See, that's
There
how
we
we're
go.
supposed to do it, Ian.